Have you ever wished that you had the power to eradicate corrupt politicians by black magic? This is probably the central conceit of the movie Santet Dosa de Atas Dosa, the latest installment in the Suzzanna franchise starring Luna Maya. This epic, colossal Indonesian horror movie tells us about how the people in a village called Karangsetan, which means literally the reef of the devil, suffer at the hands of a corrupt village chief named Bisman, who rose to power through manipulating the villagers and using dark magic. As the next regional election approaches, Bisman becomes fearful that he will lose his seat as the village chief to Satrio, a well-respected teacher who many believe would end Bisman's tyrannical regime. Early on in the movie, we see Satrio, an older man, dare to confront Bisman's henchmen after they assault a villager, leading to Satrio being persuaded by the people to run for office. Hearing this, the current village chief, Bisman, orders Satrio to be killed, but not through his henchmen, but through his trusted Santet shaman. So, for those who are unfamiliar with the concept of Santet, Santet is a form of Indonesian black magic where you can inflict physical harm, illnesses, or even death to your enemies from a distance, as long as you perform certain rituals and hold items that belong to your enemies, like photographs, strands of hair, and so on. Basically, it's the Indonesian equivalent of a voodoo. Anyway, in short, Bisman successfully eliminated his competition using Santet, but the daughter of Satrio named Suzzanna, who witnesses firsthand how her father perishes under the Santet attack, manages to escape after being attacked by Bisman's henchmen and ends up being saved by another Santet shaman named Nyi Gayatri. And just like in old kung fu movies, Suzzanna studies Santet from Nyi Gayatri to exact revenge against Bisman and his henchmen for the death of her father. So it will be like a showdown of Santet between Suzzanna and Bisman, which makes for, in my sick and twisted mind, a very fun movie watching experience. I mean, how can it not be fun to see the bad guys suffer from having eels coming out of their ears, snakes slithering through their pants, all the way until we can see blood bursting from his groin, which is shown in the very campy way, or seeing the aftermath where the bad guy is bandaged entirely from head to toe in the hospital and mumbling, kill me," to his boss. I would argue that this movie is worth the price of admission alone simply for those sequences. But I have to admit that I might be biased because the original Santet, or rather the sequel, Santet Wanita Harimau, which came out in 1989 starring Suzzanna, was the first Suzzanna movie that I watched when I was little. And the opening sequence alone in that movie of Suzzanna being transformed into a tiger, complete with outdated special effects, were the reason I love horror movies to this day. I just wish that that sequence had been incorporated into the new movie, but I understand that it wouldn't fit with the story that they are trying to tell. I would say that Santet Dosa de Atas Dosa is a more coherent, dynamic, and enjoyable film than its direct predecessor, Malam Jumat Kliwon, because it clearly has other goals in mind than just scaring you and showing you a good time. It offers a critique against the corrupt systems and officials who took people's resources and properties to enrich themselves, and then make sure that they stay in power forever by silencing and harming and murdering other people whom they think would pose a threat to their power. And what I really appreciate is that this movie never shies away from this goal and message. In fact, a rousing speech delivered by Suzzanna's love interest, Pramuja, played by the actor and activist Reza Rahadian, clearly lays out its message in plain sight for everyone to see, which, in the age of repression of critical voices against the government, feels thought-provoking and daring. And the fact that it doesn't try to be subtle or elevated in its messaging, but rather makes it very accessible and easily understandable for everybody using simple dialogue and straightforward plotting, makes it, to me personally, even more admirable in its goals. It's as if the filmmakers want to make sure that everybody from every walk of life understands what they're trying to do here: entertain and open minds to the injustices happening around the country without ever sounding preachy. And really, this is why I love this genre and why I love Suzzanna's movies. It invites everybody to join in on the fun. There's no exclusivity or snobbishness involved. But of course, this movie is not without its flaws. A major twist that appears during the movie's climax can be predicted a mile away. There's also a character that is introduced as the assistant or apprentice of Ni Gayatri, Suzzanna's Santet teacher, who doesn't have any significance to the central plot and is essentially never seen again during the third act. There's a lack of interesting characteristics in Suzzanna before she wreaks havoc as the master sorceress, since early in the movie, she is only portrayed as being shy and meek. And some of the wigs worn by Bisma and his henchmen can be distracting because of how fake looking they are. But once I set my perspective that this entire movie is meant to be a loving homage and tribute to Suzzanna movies in the 80s, complete with its crude effects and makeup, the sometimes uneven acting, and the dialogue and the straightforward plotting, I was able to enjoy the movie for what it is, and I had a very enjoyable time. I have to give a shout out to the main actress Luna Maya who plays Suzzanna. After 3 movies in, I think this is the best performance that she's ever given in this franchise. There were times that I got goosebumps because of her voice and intonation that perfectly mimic Suzzanna's. And even though the heavy makeup and prosthetics sometimes fail her, her commitment and acting skills in embodying Suzzanna come through. It'll be interesting to see how another actress will fare when playing Suzzanna in future movies. But for the time being, I feel like Luna Maya has a really good grip on how to embody the character. Anyway, the question is, will you see Santet Dosa di atas dosa? If you enjoy classic 80s Indonesian horror movies with all of their quirks, humor, straightforwardness, and the sides of bad people enduring all sorts of body horror, I'd say go see it, and you might have an enjoyable time. So what do you think? If you've seen this movie, let me know what you think of it in the comment section down below. I'm Dimas, until next time.
Aku kepingin ikut lomba lari maraton. Juara 3 tuh dapat hadiah sepatu, Dek. Janji akan dapat juara 3. Dan sepatunya buat kakak.
I'm going to be watching Santet Dosa di atas dosa, and I'm watching it on a bed. Essentially on a bed. This is how much I love Indonesian horror movies.